for Bring Your Own Lunch. Personal stories about the business with my daddy, Dave T. Kenning.
All right, come on in. Have a seat. Welcome. This is the Bring Your Own Lunch podcast at BringYourOwnLunch.com, the magic of iTunes, the majesty of Stitcher. And however you found your way to download this podcast, I thank you. As you heard at the top, my name is Dave T. Koenig. I'm an actor, writer, director, producer, comedian, all-around swell dude. I'm back. And, of course, I'm the host of the podcast you're listening to right now. BYOL is the hashtag you can use if you want to hop on board social media. Like us on Facebook.com/BringYourOwnLunch. You can follow us on Twitter at BYOL Podcast. You can follow us on Instagram at Bring Your Own Lunch. And if that's not good enough and you want to have a little more direct connection, you can always go to the website, the mothership, if you will, BringYourOwnLunch.com, where you find out all the information about the guests on this program, past, present, and presumably future, plus links and photos and other cool stuff. And I'll explain in a moment what this week will bring you. And if you want, you can send me a personal email, Dave at BringYourOwnLunch.com. Love making connections with you since you were so kind enough to make a connection with me. Guest this week is an old friend, Alan Cross, a guy I've known for many, many years and who I got to know through the audition circuit in New York City. And he is now plying his wares as a comedy writer and has been very successfully so for quite some time. He and I have a very interesting shared experience. He and I talk about his radio days. He and I both got our start in radio, and then we moved into acting. And while I have stayed with acting, he has gone on to do some really prominent comedy writing, including working on both versions of VH1's Pop-Up Video, which is one of my favorite shows ever and hilarious. He also worked with Stone Cold Steve Austin on a reality show. That's a pretty interesting story there. He worked with Paul Schaefer for a long time. So he's got a lot of insight in what goes into the writing process. And he and I talk a lot about the creative process and all the challenges that are there these days for creators and writers. And we also talk some goofy stuff up top. And we have a really good time. And Alan and I have always had a really good rapport. And even though he's now out in L.A., I was able to catch him while he was in town in New York to do a freelance gig. So I made sure I grabbed him before he hopped on the plane. And it's a fun conversation. And I'm looking forward to bringing you that. If you were paying attention, you noticed that we didn't have a show last week. And it was kind of an impromptu decision. I love doing this show. I love bringing you the guests that I've managed to procure and provide you an opportunity to hear their stories and glean the inspiration from them, take some notes, learn a few things, and hopefully have a few laughs along the way. But I found myself busy last week, and I'll be honest, a little bit burnt out. And I certainly wouldn't want to put myself in a situation where I would not want to do this show. So after consulting with my spiritual advisor, aka my wife, I decided, you know what, I will take a week off. And it's great. It's great to recharge. It's great to renew my enthusiasm. And it's great to be able to enjoy the rest of the summer since we're into September now. And I was able to just kind of put one thing on the shelf for a week. And now I'm back and raring to go. Now, one of the reasons I did that is because I was working on a web series. I've talked about it before. It was created by my friend Tia Dion Hodge Jones, who was my guest back in BYOL. I believe it was number 8. And she had more episodes to shoot, and she invited me to come back and resume my role as Dr. Dave. It's a series I'm really, really excited about. We had a great time working on it. We worked several days last week, and we nailed a bunch of episodes, and it's going to slowly roll out over time. But in the meantime, I'm just so grateful I had a chance to work on that. I think I'm in every episode, which is crazy because the other people in it are just amazing, and to be even in that context was fantastic. Tia, of course, not only the writer and creator of the series, but she also co-directed it, and she brought in some phenomenal people. She stars in it, and I got a chance to work with some other great actors. Penwa, the singularly named phenomenon Penwa, who has had a fantastic career. Also worked with Justin Anthony Kennedy, who was really, really cool, very funny. A couple young actors, Danny Greenberg and Julia Rosenberg. They were terrific. Shay Shockley was helping to produce and also had a part in the series. And a young guy named Sonny Rain. And when you do get to see his episodes, they're hilarious. So it was a great cast. And then to top it all off, Tia reached out to an old friend to play a part in the series, and I had the great fortune of working with Frankie Faison, who you may know from Silence of the Lambs and The Wire, and he's currently in the show Banshee, and he is just unbelievably talented, first and foremost, but even more delightful is the fact that he was super, super cool, great to hang out with, brilliant to work with, and I'm just so grateful that I got to kind of sit and watch his work and take notes myself on how he gets it done, because, you don't get better than him in the business. He's just awesome. And I just wanted to give a shout out to the crew who worked on this, who were amazing. David Wasserman, James Schiller-Paul, Baby Ellison, all of them were just so cool to work with. They're just the best. And it was really cool because we ended up the weekend of shooting watching the premiere episode at a film festival, which is very cool. It was the second annual Real Soul Film Festival that we watched up in Harlem, and that was a great event, and I'm so glad I was there. And my manager, Sid Levin, came to support not just me, but also Tia, who's also a client. So, I mean, it's just a great experience, and I'm so lucky to have friends in the business who are willing to stick me into their projects and have trust that I won't screw them up. So thanks to Tia and everybody involved with Babygirl Blues and other colored people. On a more somber note, it was this past weekend that we learned that Gary Marinoff passed away. Now, Gary is somebody who is well known to pretty much everybody who's in comedy in New York City, especially those who do a lot of open mics and open jams in either stand-up comedy or in improv. He's been a fixture there, and he has been plying his wares, trying to make a name for himself for the last several decades. And there is nobody I know who has had more dedication and stick-to-itiveness than Gary. If you're not sure about that name, maybe you know him as simply Gowie, G-A-W-Y. That's how he introduced himself on stage, and that's how he wanted to be known in the business. And unfortunately, he passed away. And last night, I went to a very special tribute to him at what is now called the Pit Loft. You've heard me talk about a couple of events in the past that we've done at what was called the Treehouse Theater or This Theater. Well, it's part of the Pit system, and it was finally rechristened as the Pit Loft, just in time to host a dedication to Gary. And it was a terrific event. A lot of tears, a lot of laughter, and a lot of memories about a guy who was a true New York original and one of the most unique people I've ever met. Now, Gowie, or Gary, it depends on how you want to say it, had lots of friends in the business. I learned a lot about him that I didn't know before, but I always had the sense that people kind of adopted him as a bit of a comedy mascot, and he was a staple. And it'll be strange to know that he won't be just popping in to do open mics and to do open jams and to cause havoc and chaos wherever he goes, because he was that kind of guy. He had a little bit of success. He worked on 30 Rock, and on all 5 seasons of that show, he played a stage manager, and he never had a line on the show, and campaigned to get a line on 30 Rock, and he was beloved by Tracy Morgan and by Tina Fey, and he had a campaign to get one line in 30 Rock, and they finally let him speak a line in the last episode, but unfortunately got cut out. But I think for him, it was a major success to finally convince them to let him speak in an episode, and it was later on that Tina Fey called him directly and offered him a role on her new show, The Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt, on Netflix. So if you watch that series, you'll see Gowie pop up in a very unique role. But it just goes to show how well people thought of Gowie and how much people wanted to include him in things, as interesting and as strange and as bizarre as he was. And there was a lot of people who got up and spoke last night at this, and it was like an open mic, and it was perfect in terms of a tribute to Gary. I got up and I made a speech about the first time I saw him perform, because I will never forget that performance. And several other people got up, long-term veterans of the Pit and improv and stand-up. And at the end, Robert Smigel spoke. He was a childhood friend of Gary's, and they lost touch, and Robert came back to remember his old friend, and there was some of his classmates with him, and it was very touching, very fitting, and I was lucky and fortunate and honored to be part of that. And I just wanted to thank not only the Pit Loft, but BJ Thorne, who runs the Pit Loft, and Catherine Dunn, who was one of Gowie's good friends, who put together the event and fittingly paid tribute to a really unique guy. And I've got some links to a story about Gowie from thecomicscomic.com. And there's a video that I'll put up. And, you'll just never forget Gowie. And I thank him for all the years of laughter. All right, before we get into the interview with Alan Cross, I want to thank Banooba, BANOOBA.net. That's the band that plays the music at the beginning, middle, and end of this show. Go to their website, buy their music, download their music, go see them live. They're awesome live. And if you do go there, tell them Dave says thanks. And if you want to support this show, well, the easiest and cheapest and pain-free way to do that is to go to iTunes or Stitcher and rate and review and subscribe to the show. That helps iTunes and Stitcher know that we're doing a good job so that they should tell other people to listen as well. All right, let's get into it with Alan Cross, Texas native, former radio DJ, comedy writer, spooner. We'll find out. Here's Alan. Enjoy. It's amazing what technology can do now.
Right.
I mean, that's where we are.
Yeah.
I mean, in this strange land of ours where nothing makes sense that we think should make sense.
I don't feel like, honestly, at this point, and I used to be a computer, techno, all that.
Mm-hmm.
I don't really feel like it's making my life any better.
Why do you say that?
I mean, all right, I can look everything up I want in the world on this thing.
Yes.
But then my wife is married to her phone.
Yeah, that's true. Yes, we all are in some way.
I don't have an iPhone. I'm the only one.
Actually, you're right. I noticed that when
I have a shitty phone. Yeah.
That's an old BlackBerry, isn't it?
No. It's even worse than that. It's a pay-as-you-go phone from AT&T. It's $30, and they assume that you're going to buy all these minutes. I mean, look, it's cheap anyway.
Yeah.
But it's not $30. If you had it in a store, it'd probably be $100 and something.
Yeah, but
I buy them. I have the SIM for a month, for a regular AT&T contract, and I just put it in there. The problem has been before this one, the one that I had from them, it had the plug was proprietary. There was no other plugs like it.
Oh, that's the worst.
So if you lost the plug, you had to buy a new phone. So I got like 4 of them without a plug. Yeah.
And nobody on eBay. I guess they hoard them if you can't,
Yeah, I mean, well, no one's hoarding it because it's a shitty phone.
Well, that's right. And I guess we won't say the manufacturer, but...
Oh, are we doing this?
Yeah, this has started, man.
Wow. It's kind of we ease into it.
Absolutely, yeah.
Wow.
That's the world we live in, man,
cool.
Where things happen in a very, very organic way.
Are there
Not anymore.
Are there words that I cannot say? What's your target audience? Who's listening? Besides everyone that's anyone. 2
separate groups, ages 8 through 12 and 65 to 70.
Really?
No. I think anything you say will be fine. And there have been some very adult things said on this podcast. Right. We don't shoot for that.
No, certainly not.
No, but as you and I sort of discussed, your level of sensitivity is very high, so you understand the difference between just telling a joke and being offensive to many. Right. Yeah.
Well, once you have a kid, also you realize the world is completely different. I've become more conservative. I'm the liberalist person ever, but I live in West Hollywood, right off the Sunset Strip, by the Roxy and all these clubs, and there's a Hustler store right there.
And that's and still is like as raucous as it was ever back in the heyday in the 70s and 80s, right? It hasn't really changed all that much.
I don't know if it's that raucous, but you walk past the Hustler store and there are mannequins that are wearing like leather suggestive things, and I have almost, my daughter walks past this. Now, luckily, she hasn't asked about that.
Yeah.
But you get older and you think, I shouldn't really have that in the window. Right?
That's a shame. You should probably put that away. Yeah. No, it's true. And it gives you that different perspective on things that you never thought about before you had kids, and it does change things. But on the flip side, it's like, well, what the heck's going to happen when they do get old enough to see things independently and that we have no control over?
Yeah, we're screwed.
It's a hard line to draw.
It is. Yeah. It is.
And I get myself sucked into conversations on Reddit. I don't know about you, but with Reddit.
Sure.
But, somebody brought up the idea of censoring yourself in front of kids. And I posted, I said, as a parent, I thank you for realizing that is a very helpful thing for parents of young kids. And everybody's like, well, why do you have to say that? Because just let them hear whatever they want to
Do your kids listen to this?
to the show? No,
Yeah, okay.
no.
So if I have to say one of these words, it's okay.
Absolutely, yes,
Okay.
yes. No. To be honest, the target of this is professionals in our business, and you have to assume that everybody's heard everything. So
Sure. All
yeah.
right.
All right. So let's let you want to let fly with something? Is that are you holding back?
No.
A bullet in the chamber.
Other than I learned this week the definition of truffle butter.
That's we did.
That was the pre-show.
Yeah, that was my
You have missed it.
pre-interview. Yeah, that if you don't know what that means, and I don't think it's germane to this topic of having you on the show. But if you do want to Google it, just be aware that it is a very interesting definition.
Yeah, and I'm 48. You're younger than me, but you're
Not
in
by
your,
much.
You're in your 40s.
Yeah.
Can we say that, or is
Yeah,
that,
no, that's
okay.
fine. I'm not kidding.
I don't wanna
anybody with this
typecast you.
face. Yeah.
I don't remember where I was going. Never mind. We'll edit that part out because I don't know where I was going.
Yeah, the nice thing is I don't ever edit, so it just saves
Yeah.
me a lot of work.
All right.
But let's you mentioned going Hollywood, and you moved out there. Well, 'cause you and I have known each other for a long time,
Right.
And
Mostly platonic, though, over the years. Mostly.
Well, except that there was 2 days.
Yeah.
That kind of like
That 2 days was a lifetime to me, though.
well, it meant a lot to both of us.
It was very emotional.
It was emotional, and that's why I liked it.
Yeah.
Because if it wasn't the emotion,
Right.
it would have just felt cheap.
I want to spoon the shit out of you right now. All right. And for everyone listening,
it's early in the podcast.
the shirts are off.
The shirts are off, and the spoons are out.
Okay.
And if you want to Google that, please just be aware.
A friend of mine always says, maybe he came up with this, but you're a comedy guy, and here's one of the things I've learned as a comedy guy. If you come up with a good idea, never Google it, because someone has it. And he always says, before I spoon someone, I want a good forking. And it's a great joke, and I'm hoping that he came up with it. Yeah. But if you Google it, no way. Yeah. Someone has come up with that.
That's the Schrodinger's cat of comedy. It's like until you look it up on Google, you invented it.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah.
You can't look it up. Just don't do it.
I used to be the biggest drag when I would write comedy with people because I remembered everything.
Yeah.
It's like some obscure stand-up from the 80s. Yes. I'd remember the joke that they told, and it's like, no, we can't do that because someone already told that joke.
Right.
And it's tiresome.
Right.
Especially if you worked with me. It was very tiresome for them because they're like, every single idea we come up with, Dave remembers somebody else doing that joke. And you have to take one of two paths. You have to say, that's already been done. So has everything else. So you might as well just do your take on it. Right. Or refuse to do anything that's ever been done by anybody ever in the history of everything. And it's harder now. I mean, you could say this as a writer, and I do want to get your thoughts on
I'm
things.
sorry. I'm
no. I don't mind it being a back and forth for sure. But
again, can we spoon? Well, let's spoon.
I thought we started.
Okay.
Maybe my definition of spoon is different from yours.
Google it.
But as a writer of comedy, it seems to be that much harder because I think of it as in terms of a creator. That we're not just competing with and rushing to get something out first. When you think of every other creator out there, every other writer out there, but we're also competing with every single thing that's ever been done because everything's so accessible. Like we were saying earlier with technology. Right. How do you get around that?
You have to become a Luddite and shut yourself in.
I guess that's what explains your phone.
I have a bad phone. Well, I about 2 years ago in L.A., I got called. I was interviewed at this animated kids show. It was called Gravity Falls. Okay. And it's actually it was a kids show, animated, but adults like watching it. And I thought that was cool.
That's cool.
And I had I think a Facebook joke about going out with some girl that I called Sasquatch. Right? I thought it was funny. And so as I'm preparing for the interview for this show, I watched one of their episodes. First episode, within 1 minute, they say Sasquatch. No. And this is a kids show.
Really?
Yeah, Sasquatch.
I guess that would go over my daughter's head.
Yeah,
I suppose. Yeah, but still, I mean, it's pretty.
Don't Google if you're a creative. I mean, it is a hindrance for me. Like knowing that there's all this stuff out there and someone's probably already done it. Yeah. It makes it hard for me to write. You have to just turn it off.
Yeah, it's true. But and then there's the other extreme of somebody who just does not care and steals other people's stuff and posts on Instagram. Right. And pretends it's his.
Yeah, I was reading the case about this guy. His name is like the Fat Jew or something.
The Fat Jew is well, I guess when you're stuck in work for a whole week doing a freelance gig, you miss all the fun stories.
You're right.
Yeah, I mean, it's by the time we put this out, the story may already be old in many people's minds. But yeah, I mean, there was a guy who called himself an aggregator, and he took other people's jokes and stripped out their name and put it up on his own Instagram and got a deal out of it. And the pilot of Comedy Central, and
he's at CAA.
He got signed by CAA, and that's the kind of weird world we live in. Also, I mean, so. All right, let's go back to simpler times, can we?
Yes.
Because, like I said, I've known you for a long time, and but you and I have never had the opportunity to kind of compare notes about our
penises,
which is where I usually start with people. But oddly enough, we jumped right to why neither of us have hair.
Right.
But what we've never done is really compare notes about our individual past.
Sure.
So where did you come from originally?
Texas. I'm from Fort Worth, Texas.
Fort Worth, Texas.
Yes.
So right near Dallas.
Yes.
Is it the Metroplex?
It is the Metroplex,
Yes.
DFW Metroplex. Most people know it from DFW, the airport. It's the biggest airport in the world, I think.
Yes, yeah. That's but also that particular area of the country at the time, and I've talked about this with there's a guy named Rory Scholl. Do you know Rory?
No.
He's from that area also. Mm-hmm. He was on the show, and I dragged him into a conversation about the Sportatorium.
Yeah.
Do you remember? Do you have memories of the Sportatorium?
Yeah. There was wrestling matches at the Sportatorium.
It was a big time place for wrestling.
Yeah.
And it was a hotbed of activity.
How do you know this? Oh, because you would watch wrestling as a kid.
I watched wrestling as a kid.
And this was different wrestling than the stuff now. I mean, it was a little more underground in a way. I mean, it was low budget.
But yet, not to get into too many specifics, they were at the forefront of syndication at the time.
Yeah.
So they were one of the first companies that spread their tapes out to the world.
Right.
And the U.S. actually. So it was a company called World Class Championship Wrestling, and they managed to become international stars out of that small little building in Texas.
Right.
Did you ever go there for anything else?
I went to wrestling as a kid, not to the Sportatorium. I did it. There was a place in Fort Worth that had it.
Oh, okay.
And I'm older than you, but the big wrestlers then that everyone loved, they were called the Von Erichs.
Of course.
You know the Von Erichs?
Yes.
And there was like 5 of them, and like 3 of them committed suicide. I mean, it's a
sad story.
It's a really, really sad story.
Nobody has accurately
It'd be a
done
good movie.
It would be, because it's a huge tragedy. I mean, if you don't know who we're talking about, look up the Von Erich, VON ERICH, and that family is just
it's so sad. I mean, just talking about it now, it's so unbelievably sad.
Now, being there at the time, because you were there when a lot of them were just dying left and right.
Yeah.
Do you remember those stories from growing up?
Well, I mean, I remember. Well, I mean, first of all, I remember their father, Fritz von Erich, and the move that they had, the finishing move, was called the Iron Claw. And it was basically, they hold their hand out like a claw and they hold your stomach muscles.
Yes.
And it's supposed to look like, they have the talons of is that what talons?
Yeah,
is that
talons,
what,
like of an eagle. Yeah.
And they can hurt you so much.
Yes, and it makes you submit and go, ow, 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 and you were dead.
But I remember there was a Carrie Von Erich.
Mm-hmm.
I think one of them, died on a motorcycle, but then they all...
The story was, we can go into and this may completely turn off everybody. We'll spend 2 minutes on this because it's fun.
Right.
Talking about the tragedy of a family. I don't know why I said that. But that family had, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 sons.
Right.
One of them died when he was young because he was electrocuted.
Yeah.
Because of a faulty outlet.
Right. That's how I want to go. I think it's
honorable. Okay. It's if you want to talk about heroes, that's a hero's way to go. The oldest wrestler, David, died on tour in Japan of a mysterious illness.
Oh, it was drug related, I believe, right?
Probably.
Yeah.
I mean, it was back in the 80s, so everything was easily covered up. Mm-hmm. The next oldest was Kevin, who's still alive.
Right.
Carrie was the one who got in a motorcycle accident and messed up his foot so bad that the doctors told him, don't walk on that foot anymore. So one night he got up and instead of grabbing crutches or something, stepped onto that foot and completely broke it.
Ow.
To the point where he had to amputate it.
Whoa, I've never heard of that.
Yeah, and he got a prosthetic foot, and for the rest of his career wrestled with a prosthetic foot and nobody knew.
Huh. That's wild.
I mean, there's so many wrinkles to this story. The next oldest was a guy named Mike, who was not a very talented athlete, but was pushed into the business because of his family. Ended up committing suicide, like you mentioned. Went into a park one day with a lot of sleeping pills and just...
Sure. Also honorable.
Very. And this is terrible.
Why would we talk about this?
Yeah. So sometime after that, Carrie himself committed suicide by shooting himself with a shotgun.
Oh, man.
Yeah. And the youngest one, Chris, was really, really kind of the runt of the litter. And he tried to be a wrestler, couldn't make it, and eventually killed himself. So out of 6 sons, 5 of them died.
You're going to edit in the wah, wah, wah music,
of course,
right?
yeah. Well, no.
Real quick, I worked with Stone Cold Steve Austin.
I wanted to get to that. Yeah, it was a good. See, there is a reason for bringing up this whole wrestling thing.
Yeah,
and that is you did spend time with Stone Cold Steve Austin, who is the king of podcasting now.
Yeah. Oh, he's huge. I did his podcast with him a couple of times.
You did?
I did, and he starts off by telling me. He's like, all right, Alan, let's talk about things that piss you off. and he starts telling this story. He's like, you know what pisses me off? It was this thing about when someone's not moving, they're at a red light.
Yes.
They're not moving.
Yes.
And so he does the honk, even if he's way back. And I said, but if I'm in front of you, it's pissing me off. He said,
exactly.
No, you understand. It's a word for it. It's the honk that's supposed to go through to the top guy, And so, we're doing this thing, and I'm not an angry guy. And he's like, all right, Alan. He tells this story. I'm like, what pisses you off? And I said, baby carrots. I can't stand baby carrots. I don't like people that eat them. Girls that eat them as a snack. And they don't even really exist in the world. They're shaved big carrots. Did you know that?
I did hear that once, but I'm glad you mentioned it.
Right.
We should get the word out there.
Yeah, well, you should also get the shaved big carrot line out there.
Shaved big carrot. And if you don't know what we're talking about, Google it. Just be aware. Nicki Minaj is responsible for some really dirty stuff.
One of the funniest things, I talked to him about writing a book with him.
Okay. That'll be fascinating.
Oh, yeah. And look, he is the sweetest, nicest guy ever. I mean, just a down-to-earth guy, so nice and sweet.
Amazing.
And he's from Texas, so I'm from Texas. We had that in common.
Got his start in the very sportatorium we were talking about.
He told me, I guess I can say this, everyone knows that wrestling is fake. He told me...
Wait, stop,
what?
Stop.
He told me he went to school to be a wrestler. I think it was in Dallas-Fort Worth area. He said he did not know wrestling was fake until his very first match.
So awesome. That is great.
But he had we were talking about, he had a deal to maybe write a book, and he wanted me to help him, just interview him and kind of combine all this stuff, cull it all out. And he didn't want to do it. And I talked to him about it, and he's like, Alan, they told me this book would write itself. And he's like, I've been staring at this goddamn thing for 2 fucking hours, and it won't do shit.
Hey, I've listened to his podcast, and he is fascinating to listen to.
Yeah.
Because you don't expect any of it.
Right.
It really does not make sense that somebody who had the reputation that he did as this like tough guy
right.
says the funniest stuff you'd ever imagine hearing.
Oh, yeah.
What exactly did you work on with him?
It was a reality show, the first reality show I'd ever done, called Redneck Island, which is it was on CMT, the Country Channel, and it's like Survivor, but with rednecks and beer. Okay, yeah. And I'm not a redneck. I'm from Texas. I think I know those people, but these contestants are the biggest rednecks you have ever seen. I mean,
how would you qualify somebody as the biggest redneck?
Well, here's an example. We had one of the events was, I think it was called like the Flycatcher or something, and we basically the prop department built this kind of a giant, it was like a big giant cube, 12 by 12 or 20 by 20 or something like that, and it had all these wires running through it that were electrified.
Jesus.
Yeah, and you had to go through this maze of wires. You got to, and you would pull out these. There were these plates that were hanging down, and it would say like beer, or it would say chicken wings, or something like that. You would pull all those things down, and if you brought them back in this a lot of time, you would get them. Now, right? So I was the one. I tested it for them. And it's basically like a dog fence. That's kind of the electrical thing. So
at that level? Yeah,
it's at that level. Okay. And those things, honestly, some of those things, they're powered by like a single D-cell battery.
Which is a lot, actually.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So I'm going to test it out. We don't know if this is going to work or not, how good it's going to look.
Jeez.
And I go in, and I've got my shorts on, which is not, there was a wire that's at crotch level. And I'm kind of doing the tippy toe, trying to get over it, and it gets me right in the thigh. Oh. And I dropped flat on my face. And everyone is howling in laughter, thinking, this is the funniest thing we've ever seen.
Sure.
And it happened to me several other times. I could never grab the plate.
Okay.
So an example of how big of rednecks they were.
Yeah.
We had all these different plates that had different food items. They all went for the beer. That's all they wanted to get was the beer one, which we made. It was very far away. There were a lot of wires, and you got to go. You got to
really had to push.
So we think it's going to be so great because me, the writer, I tested. I follow my butt, and it hurts. It hurts, and I'm yelling the whole time. I'm doing. Everyone's laughing. Well, what we didn't count on is some of these rednecks. They had been tased before in altercations with the police.
Oh, Jesus!
Yeah, so they don't care.
Right.
And they would just tear through there. They're getting shocked, not saying a dang thing, and they, get the beer thing or get the chicken wings or whatever. Not saying one thing. And one of the reasons is several of them had been tased more than once by the police. That's how big of rednecks they are.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
It sort of reminded me of Andy Dufresne going through that tube in Shawshank Redemption.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Like, you wonder how somebody could put up with crawling through all that.
Right.
But if there are wings and beer at the end of the rainbow, there's you go through it.
They seriously wanted the beer,
and they didn't like reduce this shock. It was the same level of shock you got.
Yeah, what we ended up doing for round 2 is we made the second round blindfolded, and someone else had to tell you, all right, move a foot to your right, lift up your leg, and stuff like that. That made it more entertaining. But still, no one made as much noise and went down quite like me.
Did they film it?
They didn't film. I don't think they filmed me.
Are you glad they didn't film it?
Yeah, I probably looked pretty stupid.
How did you end up getting that gig?
How did I get? It was a friend of mine that I work with in New York. I'm going to name check him. Trace Slobodkin, which is a great name. He wrote what was the movie? He wrote a Jamie Kennedy movie about breakdancing.
Jeez.
Right?
I know what the movie you're talking about.
Google it.
Yeah, it's one of those
kicking it old school.
Kicking it old school. Yeah, it's like one of those like cult kind of like guilty pleasure movies. Yeah,
I had never seen it, and but I just thought that was so cool. I don't care about the guy necessarily. Maybe I care about whoever wrote Shawshank Redemption, but I would rather. This is the guy I want to hang out with. And it turns out he's awesome. He couldn't do the gig. He had something else.
Oh, okay.
So he recommended me.
Nice.
And so I was in Mexico for a month, both times. I did 2 seasons. And, it's pretty interesting when you see how a reality show is made. I never really watched Survivor.
Okay.
But I remember I saw one of the early episodes in the first season. And you look at these people and you think, oh, my God. They're in the middle of nowhere, which they are.
Yeah.
They are going to die. But what you don't realize is there's 40 crew members around them.
Yes.
There's craft services. Now, they're not getting the craft service. The crew does.
Yeah.
But there's tons and tons of people around there. You're not as lonely and frightened and in the woods as you might think.
Yeah, you're not in a desolate spot.
No.
When you bring 50 people with you.
Right.
Yeah, that takes away the definition of desolate at all.
Right.
It's kind of like when you look at the Taj Mahal. People say you go to the Taj Mahal and all you know in your head is the picture of the Taj Mahal and how majestic it is and how beautiful it is. But when you go there and you turn like 30 degrees to the left or 30 degrees to the right, you're surrounded by slums and garbage. Right. Because you only have that
That's
one.
Hot.
It's literally hot garbage.
Yeah, hot garbage.
But it's amazing what the camera can do.
Yeah.
It's what the camera can hide.
Yeah.
And it presents whatever you choose it to present.
Right. We filmed not on an island, even though it's called Redneck Island. We had a beach, and some of the crew buildings had to be camouflaged with camouflage because it would sometimes be in the background, but they knew their camera angles, so they knew not to. They're not going to shoot where we are, but occasionally you'll see some crew member caught on camera and they run away or something.
Oh, wow!
You could see that.
Now, one might ask the question, since it is a reality show,
sure.
Why did they hire a writer?
Well, I mean, it's a good question. First of all, if you're writing on a reality show, it's not like a high status thing.
Really?
Yeah, it's not high status. I mean, what I did is I kind of channeled Steve Austin. I would talk to him beforehand. Mm-hmm. We had all these challenges, like any reality show.
So you were more like you were writing for like a game show. It just happened to be on this reality show. Okay,
yeah.
That makes sense.
I would throw in jokes if something was going on, and we had a little earpiece in Steve's ear, and I would throw in some stuff. That was really fun. He's really funny anyway.
I'll bet.
But when you're doing these challenges, they have to be worded in a way that's incredibly clear. Really for the viewing audience.
Sure,
they have to be clear for the people that are playing, but it have to be really clear for the viewing audience. And so that's what I would work on for him. I get it in his language and we would talk about it. I'd find out how he would say it. And then I would make a page of clean copy that he would do.
Yes, and you wouldn't be writing for any of these contestants per se. You were really there to write for the host.
Yeah, I was the host producer.
Which makes host producer. Yeah. Okay, there you go. That makes sense. Now you've been a writer for a long time, but I want to go back to Texas because you were also I presume you still. Call yourself an actor?
Not really. I ended up I started out in radio in Texas, and I had a morning radio show in Austin.
Okay.
Then I had a radio show in Oklahoma City.
Okay.
And when the Oklahoma City gig ended, it started out. We were the station had been called KEBC, Keeping Everybody Country, and they kept everybody country for 30 years, and then we went in and played Pearl Jam. This is like 96-ish or something like that.
How did you get your start in radio? Because you and I have very similar in that my first job out of college was in radio.
Yeah.
How did you get your first job in radio?
Internship. I was out of college, and I interned at a radio station that was alternative rock. And I didn't listen to it. I didn't really care about any of that. And
why were you interning there if you didn't care about it?
I wanted to be David Letterman. And he
started in radio.
He started out in radio, and so that's what I did.
Amazing.
Yeah.
How far back did you entertain that Letterman idea?
Oh, I entertained it for the longest time. When he left, I was very sad. When Letterman quit, I was sad for a couple of reasons. One, I grew up on him. Mm-hmm. And the other was I applied to write for that show a handful of times, but most of those kind of gigs, you got to do it over and over and over again. There had been a time in my life that I knew his voice. It's always, if you're writing for someone else, you got to nail their voice.
Yep.
And I knew his like the back of my hand.
Sure.
And then I kind of stopped watching him in later years. He, to me, became grumpy and it wasn't as fun and playful.
And he definitely settled into the chair.
Yeah, and it wasn't as exciting. And I felt sadness because this is my childhood, David Letterman, but also like I should have tried harder. I
had that same thought, where you definitely, with someone like Letterman and you're growing up and he's doing the most exciting television.
Yeah, absolutely.
Anybody is or has been doing for a long, long time.
Right.
And that's somebody easy to get behind.
Right.
And think, that's what I want to do. Not just be on his television show doing what he does, but breaking the rules that he broke.
Right.
Because that was great to watch.
Yeah, the stuff that he did in later years, if you're someone listening and you only watched, say, in the past 10 years, you have no idea. It was completely different in the beginning.
Absolutely. And whereas his antagonistic relationship with NBC made for fascinating television, his antagonistic relationship, I think, with his own job made for kind of dull television. He wasn't lashing out the way he did when he was young. And it almost is similar to what our lives, because I had that thought too, where it's like, I just wanted to work with Letterman. I wanted to be pals with Letterman.
Right.
And then I wanted to host the show after Letterman. And that was going to be my goal in life. And that's why I got into radio.
Yeah.
But later in life, it's like my anger has kind of subsided.
Yeah.
And it's taken a lot of some of the bite out of what I do generally.
Right.
And it took me in different directions where yes, I think maybe I should have tried hard enough, but then again, maybe it just wasn't in the cards.
I really liked Jimmy Kimmel, and I wrote for the Man Show the very first season as a freelance writer.
Yeah.
But Jimmy Kimmel, we're about the same age. I'm a few months older than him. But he grew up wanting to be David Letterman. There's a picture of him on his birthday when he's like 12 and getting a David Letterman cake. And he ended up doing it. So I respect him, but I'm still a touch jealous.
Sure. And why wouldn't you be? Because, and there was only going to be one or two people in the world who were going to do that job.
Right.
Do you think that job is as valuable as it was back then?
It's a great question. I don't think so, because back when we were kids, again, I'm 48, there was no internet.
Right.
And you had to watch it. It was either you watch it or you're never going to see it unless they maybe do a rerun later on.
Yes.
You had to stay up.
Yes.
And it was exciting. And also when I was younger, I could stay up and still go to school somehow.
I don't know how we did that.
Right.
Yeah.
But now, you don't have to stay up. And I think most people, they watch the 5-minute best of clip, or you watch whatever Jimmy Fallon did. Yeah. And here's the 3-minute clip the next day.
Yeah.
And Letterman said that was one of the reasons he wanted to get out of the game. He couldn't compete on that level, that internet thing.
Yeah, it makes sense because Jimmy, I think the smartest thing about Jimmy Fallon's show is that it's designed to be cut into 3-minute clips.
Right.
And distributed to get people interested in those 3-minute clips, and it's just as valuable to the show as the show they do every night. And you can see Letterman, the bits he would do back in the old days, genius stuff.
Oh, man.
But I think they didn't really want to necessarily put as much effort into the bits, and a lot of it was about the interview. And the interviews can be very compelling, but those are harder to clip into 3-minute bits.
At the very end, if you were a writer there, I don't think you had you weren't real close and personal with Dave. I don't think anyone really was.
Right.
And I wrote with Paul Schaefer for a long time, a radio show for Paul.
Yes.
And I still talk to him. And Paul's a sweet, great guy also. Really a nice guy. And I've never really asked him much about Dave, but they were definitely friendly on TV. Not that they were friendly off TV, but Dave's a unique dude.
Yeah, yeah.
And I had another friend that wrote for him, and he told me that before every show, Dave would line up, I think, 5 cups of coffee and 5 Hershey's bars, drink it and down them for the show.
Jeez.
Right?
Yeah. That takes a strong constitution.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I would have crashed around minute 15.
Oh, man. But, he wasn't as fun to watch in later years. But I'm sad and I miss it. And also back then, I mean, when I was a kid, and I guess when you were a kid, there's The Tonight Show with Johnny Carson.
Yes.
Which was, I like it probably more now in retrospect. Mm-hmm. It definitely felt older person to me.
Yeah, it was like watching the show your grandparents loved to watch.
Exactly.
Yeah. You understood why it was great.
Right.
But you didn't necessarily relate to it.
Right.
Letterman was our guy.
And he was the only other option. There was Tom Schneider.
Yes.
Who was on, I think, after Letterman.
Yeah, for a while. Yeah.
But
then Linda Ellerby was on for a while. Yeah.
But that was it. And then Arsenio came along, but I wasn't really into that.
No, I mean, every once in a while when he had a really good guest, you might look into that. But yeah, and then Bob Costas did later.
Sure.
So I mean, those were important times.
Right.
And it was like when you had Letterman or Carson Daly. When you had Carson Daly ruling the roast, you wrote for everybody. Yeah. And I want to get into how you got into that a little bit more. But when you had Carson, Letterman, and Bob Costas, it was like the golden era of broadcast hosts.
Right.
Do you think there is still room for a broadcast host?
I don't think so.
Yeah.
I mean, my dream for the longest time was to write for late night TV. Mm-hmm. That's what I wanted to be, Letterman.
Yeah.
And I was too scared to think, oh my God, I could host a TV show.
Yeah.
It frightened me. So I have some regrets about that. But as I get older, I'm a performer, but not to that extent. I don't need the applause and smiles and laughter like some other people do.
Yeah.
I can't remember the question. I got lost in the reverie of your eyes.
Do you think there is still room for the classic broadcaster as host?
I don't think so, because there's so many channels. I guess what I was saying is back then, and what we mentioned, you had 2 options. You had Letterman and whoever else was on.
Yeah.
Now there are a million channels. Do you remember when you were a kid? We didn't have cable. When cable came in, it was big. Right. But do you remember when the station would conclude its broadcasting hours and they would play the national anthem
with
and
a flag.
static at like 2 a.m.
Yeah, it was probably it was less common for us because we were in the New York market growing up. But there were a couple of channels that did sign off at the end of the day. Like the UHF channels would sign off at the end of the day. But and it was always so unusual to me when I'd see it depicted in movies, because our channels didn't always do that. They kind of ran all night. Yeah. But we did every once in a while stay up late enough to just see that 1 hour where they might shut down.
Right.
Because
it was
of FCC
sad
rules.
When you're a kid and you want to stay up late and nothing else is on.
Yeah.
Oh, sad days.
And you're like, what am I going to do with my life now?
Yeah.
And nowadays, my kids don't understand that you can't just watch the show you want to watch when you want to watch it.
Right.
Like, it's a foreign concept to them, the idea that a show is on.
Right.
Like, you can't even say live.
Yeah.
It's on. It's on TV now.
I kind of think, I guess as I'm becoming older and maybe a Luddite, I miss the old days. To me, having every option right now, from Hulu to everything is online, I feel like one of these experiments where they give a rat or a monkey in a cage a little lever and he can keep hitting it to get the food out.
Yeah.
And that's what I keep doing. I keep hitting it,
It's true.
And I think ultimately that's not good. When I go to a buffet, well, hey, I might try 4 desserts. They all look good.
Sure.
I have so many options.
It's like being on a constant cruise.
Yeah, it is.
An all-you-can-eat cruise.
And the midnight shrimp buffet, never as good as you think it is.
Well, no, it's not. But you do it anyway because, you have to. You're a monkey in a cage. Yeah. It's really amazing. But from a professional level, it just makes things a little bit harder, too. As I was saying before, it's like I constantly feel like I'm not just competing with everybody else who's doing stuff now.
Right.
I'm competing for attention with everybody else who ever created anything ever.
Yeah.
And I don't know that, I think it's from this point forward, it's not going to change. I mean, we're going to have instant access to the history of creative art forever.
Right.
So how do we make ourselves stand out? How do you see the challenge of standing out in this kind of thing?
Well, I mean, you know, I don't stand out enough, and I don't push I'm really more of a behind the scenes, you know, I write.
Or what you write. I mean, how do you, as a creative person, how do you encounter, how do you fight against that tide of things?
It's paralyzing. I think you just have to have confidence in what you do. You almost have to shut off the idea of, I need to do this, it needs to be great so people will hire me or people will see me. Because if you're thinking that way, you can't write at all.
So instead, what do you do?
Well, I mean, you just have to get a chuckle out of what you're doing yourself and find enjoyment in it. And then hope everyone else will do it.
Yeah,
we'll dig it.
You say that, and it like struck a chord with me, because I sometimes forget to entertain myself. And I think what made me, whatever success I may have ever had, which is limited. I'm not saying I've had massive success, but the most successful stuff I've done was based on the idea of me entertaining myself and laughing at the environment around me, because it makes things easier. It feels better that way. Right. And then if people dig that, then you can get on a roll of some sort, So it's definitely true that you do have to entertain yourself and like what you're doing first. Right. And then ideally someone will pay you to do that.
Yeah, I remember I don't like books about writing in general. I hate them because they generally make me feel bad that I'm not writing enough.
You should be writing right now.
I know. Yeah. But there was one I read one time, and I only read pieces of it. I can't remember what it was called, but it had this thing in one of the things in the chapters, it said 10% of the time is trying to sell it. 90% of the time, it's just you and that computer, and you're alone, and you better enjoy it. And I thought, oh, shit, I hate this. Yeah. I hate this. And I still do to some extent.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. Maybe they're happy writers, but I don't know. When you sit down and
I wait till the absolute last second.
Yeah, me too. That's when my brain works the quickest.
Yeah, the absolute last second. And if I can't write it in 2 minutes in my head, I probably won't write it. Yeah. Which is good and bad, because when I do end up writing, it's very spontaneous and very, I don't overthink it. Right. Like some of the best stuff I've written was like from 125th Street driving down to 34th. Sure. In that amount of time, I've written the whole script. Right. And if I can just get it out onto paper, I'm good. And I won't ever have to look at it again. Right. Well, I might have to look at it again. But other than that, if I were tasked with sitting there with something, I would absolutely wait until the very last second. Yeah. Until that inspiration kicks in, or the fear of getting fired.
Yeah, I think, I'm definitely like that. My cylinders, I have ADHD. So,
do you?
Yeah, I do. So I'm medicated and everything, but it has always been a real struggle, especially for writing. I think I might even have dyslexia to some extent. My eyes jump around on the page. I have to read things over and over. A lot of times, if I have a book that I really like, I read incredibly fast. Yeah. And then I'll go back and read the parts that maybe I didn't read as carefully.
Interesting. Do you have that thing where you look at a book and you're reading and your eyes are going through the function of going word to word, and you'll sometimes even turn pages and realize I haven't retained a single thing here?
Yeah, absolutely.
What is that?
We're old and we have ADD.
No, I remember doing that in high school and in college, where it's like I would just zone out.
Yeah, for me, if you have ADD, the thing is, whatever you're doing has to be incredibly exciting for you. Because if you have ADHD, your mind doesn't produce enough dopamine. And dopamine is like a pleasurable chemical. Yes. And so you get dopamine when you get excited about something. Yeah. I don't have enough dopamine. So I could only, when I failed out of college, when I went back, I thought, I don't want to fail. I want to do well. I know I'm smart. And so I had to mentally figure out, how does this class excite me? I had to mentally figure out what excites me about this in order for me to do well.
I wonder if everybody else has gotten that same concept, because that could be very helpful for somebody.
It's helpful, but then it's bad because, as a professional writer performer, unless you're a stand-up or, you're writing your own books and you're successful, most of the time you're doing something for someone else. Yeah. Which is fun for me. if I'm writing for someone, fortunately, the thing when I get a job to write for something or someone, I've always been into it enough. You know, I've never had one that I just thought, I don't like this person. There was actually one person, I wish I could say her name, but one of the most horrible people I've ever met, and has won every award there is. And boy, she was awful. Yeah.
Really, and it makes everything a drag. But to say that outside of that person, you've really enjoyed the work you're doing,
for the most part.
Yeah, I mean, you can't love everything you do, especially if somebody's paying you to do it. You know, and it's not for your own benefit. I mean, there's going to be some sort of compromise there. But it sounds like you've been extremely happy relative to a lot of people in a lot of other jobs. So I guess there's something to be said for that. So you had that job in Oklahoma City. Right. And radio. Was that the last job you had in radio?
Yeah, it was the last job.
What happened there?
Well, it started out at country. We went to alternative rock.
Yes.
And then I had just gotten back from vacation. And it was my first week back. And I had to struggle to get my vacation. I had a morning show host, and they fired him, and it was just me. And it's hard to do a morning show with just one guy.
Was it a typical morning show where you'd give all the information, or do you just play music?
It was a lot of music, but I did my stuff. But if it's just you, it's like doing stand-up. You can't hear anyone.
Yeah, it's rough.
It's tough, and you got to be very confident, and you just got to do what makes you laugh. Yeah, anyway, so I just gotten back from vacation. I finished my shift at 10 a.m., and the production director, the guy that made all the commercials, he comes in and he's running the board on the he's putting the music in. Yeah. And he won't look at me. The 10 to noon or 10 to 2 guy is not in there. Oh. But the production guy's in there, and he barely will look at me. And I knew something was up, and they said we had a meeting, and we go in, and they said we're changing the format. Yep. And the thing was, our ratings were killer, but the sales staff was still left over from keeping everybody country. Yeah. And so they didn't know how to sell. Hey, these, people that like Smashing Pumpkins, they didn't know how to sell that. So instead of getting younger or hipper or just smart salespeople,
they got scared.
And they changed it to Michael Bolton. Anyway, that's when the job ended. And I thought, I had a girlfriend. I said, let's go check out New York, because again, I'd always wanted to be Letterman. And New York was the place, and I was terrified about it. We went up to visit. She got a job right off the bat. And I thought, I got to move. She's going to be there, and I don't want to stay in Oklahoma City.
Sure, yeah, especially if you don't have a job.
No, yeah. Although it's cheap to live in Oklahoma City.
Really? And, I mean, radio never paid me any amount of money. Was it? I mean, even on a morning show, which is the top slot to have in radio, were you getting paid reasonably? This was like 96. I made $20,000 a year, but it was the most money I had ever had in my life in a job. Yeah, and it was the most money I've ever had in the sense that, I was on the radio in the morning. When you do a morning show, you live weird hours. You become a weird human because you got to go to bed at 8. Yes. If you want to not be tired. And I don't function well if I'm tired. Yeah. Just don't do it. Yeah. So you got to go to bed at 8, which means the things you need to talk about the next day are the things that everyone watched on TV the night before. Well, I haven't seen it. Yeah. You know? So that was very difficult. But I remember my apartment was like $275 a month. Oh, man. And everyone said, my God, why do you pay so much? So you and I were on radio just about the same time because I was on the radio on Long Island making almost exactly the same amount of money. Yeah, it was great. It was great, except I wasn't going to make any money ever. Yeah. And the idea of walking in one day and not knowing if your job would be there was enough for me to say, this is probably not a good future for me. And even at 22 years old, I knew this is going to be a really long haul because everybody around me was miserable. Right.
What kind of station was it?
That was an adult contemporary.
Really?
It was the number one station on Long Island.
Can you do a break like you would have done it on the radio?
See, I did news. That was the thing. I was a news anchor. It wasn't
like double shot of Michael Bolton coming up.
No, I never got to do that. But I heard plenty of Michael Bolton. If I hear Kiss from a Rose by Seal ever again, I will throw that speaker attached to whatever playing device anymore. I was going to say I'd throw the radio out, but who listens to the radio anymore?
When I worked at Pop-Up Video, I remember I didn't do this, but we popped the Seal video. And if you never saw Pop-Up, we played music videos and we put these little captions, these bubbles on the screen about what happened behind the scenes.
Yeah, I think you just defined. I think you just created a very good sense of the dividing line between people of different ages.
Yeah.
Because if you say pop-up video to people of our age, you're like, oh, that was
exactly.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
Right.
And then there was this long period of time where people like pop-up what?
Yeah, exactly.
And then they brought it back.
Right. They brought it back, and I came out for that, and it only lasted another year. It was great. And it was also in the days before TMZ, before Radar Online, before Wikipedia.
Yeah.
Now, we always found our information by calling people on the set. That was our bread and butter. And we would find things that no one knew. Now, today, all those little bits get reported, and they're going to be on Radar Online and everything. But I mentioned it because when you were mentioning Seal, I didn't pop a Seal video, but one of the guys did. And we would talk about the artist. We would talk about what happened behind the scenes. And if there wasn't anything you could talk about, you start throwing in facts about seals.
Yeah, of course.
And so we had some pops about the clubbing of seals. And I don't know if it was Seal that was unhappy with that or the director of it. I think it was the director.
Oh, wow.
I think his name was Mark Romanek.
Okay.
And he directed, I don't know if that was him.
You were. This was back in the original.
Yeah, this was
days.
like in 99,
99,
98,
like
99. Yeah.
Okay.
I wasn't around for the first 2 seasons. I think it came in like season 3.
But the original run, you were involved. Yeah. Which was, it was just so good.
It was really cool.
And you saw things like that. It was dangerous television in the same way Letterman was, because you saw people taking risks, and it was beautiful.
Yeah, I remember one time we popped a VH1 fashion show. Because we would, it was cheap to do what we did. And VH1 has these fashion shows. They'll run them until no one watches the reruns. Then we would pop it and people would watch it again. And I remember that was when Creed was bubbling up.
Okay, yeah.
And I had a pop about, it was in the opening of the show, and they're scanning, the camera goes through the audience, and you see all the famous people that are there.
Yeah.
And I said something on the screen about, it's a night of, many stars, and something about many stars and Creed. When Creed comes on, and that was generally we try to keep our fingerprints off of it.
Yeah.
That was pushing it.
Sure.
But I remember at the time hearing from a friend of mine that I think worked at the Daily Show, and the head writer at the time, I don't remember who it was, said he had seen that. And he thought, my God, that's amazing that they would do that. And it made me feel good, because I was, wanting to be at the Daily Show also.
There were so many that were just blew your mind with that is genius. And the format of it and the way you were able to do pacing on it is so unique, because you're just following the timeline of the video, but you can create its own beat with those pop-ups, which is so great. What do you consider your favorite one?
Well, if you were good, you would get to do sort of like an award.
Mm-hmm.
You'd be rewarded with a Lionel Richie video. Because
the one for Hello was
that's a great one, right?
Yeah.
I didn't do that. I think I did a Lionel Richie one, but look, Lionel Richie's actually really talented, and his music is great. Yeah. He's very sincere, and what we did was less than.
Yes.
So, but he was so sincere in these videos. If you got to pop it was fun. But one of the writers there is a guy named Marty Kine. Uh-huh. Now, if that name sounds familiar at all, if you watch Showtime, Don Cheadle plays a character called Marty Khan on
House of Lies.
House of Lies.
Yeah.
Marty Kine, the pop-up writer, after pop-up, he went to business school. He became a business consultant, and he wrote a book called House of Lies.
Oh, wow.
And so the show is based on sort of his life.
Oh, wow.
And Marty Kine was the guy that could do pop-up in a way that none of us ever could. He was a genius at looking at things in a different, weird way.
Yeah.
And I remember he popped All Night Long, the Lionel Richie song.
Sure.
And he had a pop in there. Pop-up, we could do puns. For some reasons, puns, the lowest form of comedy. But when you're doing it on top of someone that's very serious,
yes,
it's fun. It's like farting while you're watching Masterpiece Theater. It's
the juxtaposition.
It's a juxtaposition.
Absolutely.
And he had a pop that we all loved, and it was something like, only 14% of people are capable of an all-night schlong. And everyone's like, we all tried that. We could never get it. And Marty Kine is still, oh man, he was great.
Anybody else you worked with back then who went on to other things that are interesting like that?
It's weird. I mean, you probably know this from New York. You start going to stand-up clubs or whatever, and people become famous or big jobs. A friend of mine, I never really did stand up, and I should have. I always wanted to. I probably should do, but it always terrified me.
Well, improv was probably the closest you ever came, right?
And that terrified me. I mean, there are a few, it felt awful most of the time. But, it could still be fun, but generally it felt awful during the process.
Yeah.
But I would hang out at this club on the Upper West Side, and there was a friend of mine, his name was Chris DeLuca, and it was a comedy show at this bar. And I liked it because it wasn't in a comedy club where you got to buy 2-drink minimum and all that scam. And so he was there. This guy Brian Tucker, who's now the co-head writer of SNL. Oh, okay. He's been at SNL forever. He wrote. Brian's the best writer I know, and he wrote for Chris Rock. He's known as the white guy that can write black. Okay. He wrote, anyway, I'm trying to, for, who was it on Comedy Central? The Rick James. Yeah. Yeah. He wrote for Dave Chappelle. So he wrote for he wrote for Chris Rock.
Some I remember. Great comedians.
Yeah. So. He told me one time he had been trying for years to get a job at Conan. This was years ago. Uh-huh. But again, you had to write over and over. You submit, you probably don't hear anything. Yeah. 4 months later, you submit again. And everything has to be in alignment. Someone has to leave, and then your thing has to be on their stack. And I remember he told me, and he's a great writer, he told me that Chris Rock personally called Conan to recommend him. Wow. Didn't get the job. Wow. Yeah. Well, one of the things that Conan does, and I would hope that most other shows do this, I don't know that for a fact. Yeah. When the material got to Conan, there was no name on it. He wanted to judge it for the comedic merits, not based on your resume, which is really cool. Yeah, actually, that is very honorable. It's really cool. Yeah. So I don't know who got the job before Brian, but look, he's doing great, and he's at SNL. Yeah. But you know from the People's Improv Theater, Grace Helbig? Yes. Oh, she wrote for them too? No, she didn't write for them, but I just remember her as a girl that was always, she interned at the People's Improv Theater here in New York City. Yes, yeah. She's on billboards on the Sunset Strip. Yeah, yeah. It's kind of crazy. What's that? It's kind of crazy. It's really weird. Like, I know that person. Now they're on the billboard. Yeah. What am I doing with my life? It's kind of similar with Amy Schumer. Yeah. Because I didn't really cross paths with Grace at all at the Pit, but I did a play with Amy way before she was famous. And to see her as an A-lister, like legit superstar, is just amazing. I have still never seen any of the things she's done, and I've heard it's great, but there's so much content for me. And that's a general problem all over, is that, the glut, like you said, like the monkey hitting the thing, it's like you cannot digest a fraction of what's out there. Yeah. And it's amazing that anybody does get big, like 5 million views on YouTube or whatever. That's really hard to do. I sort of, the YouTube thing, and I've certainly done some videos. I had a couple that did pretty well, but it bothers me. I briefly wrote, my friend Trey Slobodkin, if he's too busy for something, he always gives me the job. And there was a show called Viral Video Showdown. It was on the Sci-Fi Network. I think it was only about a year. It was a pretty good concept. They bring viral video filmmakers from YouTube that have a lot of hits. They give them a subject. They give them, a budget of not very much. Yeah. You got to make a viral video, and then it'll be judged by this team of experts. So the camera's panning by the team of experts. I've never seen any of these people. Yeah. Even if I had seen their videos, I don't know who these people are. Right. But it would say, so and so has over 3 million views on YouTube. Right. And the camera would pan by them, and they would have this kind of confident smirk of I'm somebody. Yeah. And it really bothered me because I thought just because you have the views doesn't mean it's any good. Right. But now views equals money. Yeah. I when Seth Meyers' show first started, I submitted for that show. Yeah. And they wanted your Twitter feed. Right. And I have one, and it's essentially shit my wife says, but it was before the real thing. Yeah. But my wife is very funny, and she says some very funny things, and I will write them in there, and I've got 34 followers. I don't push it. Right, of course. But I heard at the Seth Meyers thing, they really wanted people, with 100,000 followers. Who are doing it all the time. And look, the good news is if you want to be a writer, when I started out, and I taught comedy writing in New York for a long time. Yeah. Back then it was all about getting to the show. How do you get there? What do you do? Now you can get there by having a Twitter feed.
Yeah.
You know, guys get deals based on Twitter feeds.
It's true. Hopefully they wrote them.
Yeah, right?
Because then it's suddenly the bottom drops out.
Right. Do you tweet a lot?
I tweet a lot more than I ever did.
Right.
It's sometimes hard because some of the best stuff I do, I'm like, I don't want to put that out there.
Yeah.
Because I want to save it for when I can use it. But then you realize that 3 years goes by,
right,
and it's like, what was I hoarding this stuff for? So it's like the push and pull of, do I put out my best stuff?
Right.
And I still haven't figured out the answer to that. But I do tweet more, and with this show, I have a Twitter account for this show, and I try to push it quite a bit. But I can't say that I have enough to get a job at Seth Meyers' show.
Right.
But even with commercial auditions, every once in a while they'll say, what is your Twitter feed? What is your Facebook page? And it's like that's significant for people anymore, and it's like it's crazy.
My wife, who is...
We definitely sound like old men at this point.
My wife, Melinda Wade.
Yes.
I'll plug her.
Yeah, please do.
She's beautiful and incredibly talented, and she's an actress in L.A., and we have a mutual friend. We are friends with a woman who writes for a dramatic show on TV. I'm not going to say what it is.
Uh-huh.
But Melinda has auditioned for this show because of her friend who works there. And it's not... what's the word? Look, even if Melinda didn't have it, she's an unbelievable actress. It's not like it's a quid pro. I don't know what the word is, but she's very, very good.
Yes.
And she'll even get to go do table reads, which is you read the script with, generally the people that are in the show.
Sure.
And there have been some roles that she's been right for, and her friend really wants her to get it because she's the right person for the part. And they will end up hiring an actor, an actress, who maybe is not all that good as an actor, but they have a big Twitter following.
Yeah.
Because they want... there's so many shows. Again, if you can bring in an actor that's not doing the biggest part, but a part, and they have 100,000 Twitter followers, and they can tweet about this episode of whatever TV show they're on, it's currency.
They have support that's built in, which is amazing.
It's great, and I think, if you're just starting out, I think that's great. But me becoming an old codger, I still kind of want quality. Yeah, and I don't know if maybe I don't fit in the world anymore.
We're going back to Shawshank. When did you move out to LA?
About 3 years ago.
It was 3 years ago?
Yeah,
wow.
Pop-Up Video came back. It was off the air for 10 years.
Yeah.
And it came back. And my former boss, a guy named Woody Thompson, who was a co-creator of the show along with Tad Lowe, he Facebooked me and said, hey, the show's coming back. Do you want to freelance for it?
Wow.
And I said, yeah. And then I sent him another message saying, if you ever want me to come out to LA, because we had started it in New York, Woody moved to LA.
Yeah.
And so it was coming back in LA. And I emailed Woody right afterwards and I said, if you ever want me to come out there, my mother-in-law lives in LA. I can come out. And he said, can you get out here this week? This is like on a Wednesday.
Oh, wow.
And by Sunday, I'd moved there.
It's just like outright you moved.
Outright. Now, my wife and daughter, they were still in New York City.
Yeah,
but my mother-in-law lived there, and I was there for about 4 months. I think I went out there in like August or something, and the weather was beautiful then. It's great every single day.
Yeah.
And then my wife and daughter visited around January. My daughter was pre-K. I don't know what she was in, but she was on a break from whatever the schoolish kind of thing she was doing. And I said, why don't you guys just move out here? Because it's so nice. And so we moved. And I like it. The weather is great. If you are living in New York and you go out there and you live there, 20% of this stress that you didn't even know you had, it just falls off. It's really weird.
What do you attribute that to?
I think you have wide open spaces. You're not always jammed in next to people.
Yeah. And
the weather is just so great.
I can imagine that's the biggest thing.
Yeah, it's really, really nice.
Industry-wise, do you think you're in a better spot to do what you're doing now, or?
Probably.
Yeah.
Although I always like New York in the sense that New York is, I don't know, 2 million, or I don't know how many people live on Manhattan exactly.
Yeah.
It's a big city. It's a big population in a very small place.
Right.
It does, in some ways, to me, feel like a small place. it is small, but it felt like a neighborhood. You run into people.
The odds of running into somebody seem astronomical, but it's not that uncommon.
Right. Yeah. And so it felt like to me, New York is more like I'd go see you at a comedy show or something. And it felt not so show businessy in a way. Yeah. In LA, it is all that. Yeah. And look, it's great. That's where it all is.
Sure.
That part doesn't really appeal to me all that much.
Yeah.
The kind of the sucking up and the talking about it all day long.
It's definitely not a New York thing.
No. If you talk to a New York writer, they're not always going to be talking about comedy. They're going to have a lot of other interests. But in LA, it's all based on that.
Yeah.
Here's a weird thing about going out there. In New York, you generally you don't really say hi to strangers unless there's a reason that you don't say hi to strangers. You really don't look people in the eye.
Yeah.
If you're on the subway,
it's understood.
It's just understood because When I first went to LA, it was actually with Pop-Up years and years ago. I remember going into a bar, and I was single at the time and not dating well in New York.
Yeah.
You go into a bar in LA, and everyone turns and looks at you. And my first thought was, am I this good looking? Are these women? God, I'm great. But then you realize, no, they're looking at you to see who you are. Oh. But they do look at you in the eyes.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Very interesting.
Right.
See, I still have not done the LA thing.
Yeah.
And it's something I'm going to have to do for my own like growth. But geez, I mean, just even visiting out there, I haven't really done. So it's like I'm picking up all these little bits and pieces of what the picture is, and it's fascinating to see the differences.
Yeah.
And from a social aspect, one of the things people talk about is that because it's so spread out, it's harder to see people. Do you find that?
Well, we moved in. We lived in West Chelsea here, and we live in West Hollywood in LA. And West Hollywood is great. My daughter's school is right across the street, and it's a great school, great public school. But we can walk everywhere. We can walk. All the rock clubs are on the street.
Right.
I can walk to this unbelievable public library. I can walk to an unbelievable public pool. I can walk to the grocery store. You can walk for restaurants. So it feels like New York. If you lived anywhere else but West Hollywood, you're going to be in your car a lot. And look, you're going to have a house with a big yard and all that, but you're going to have to drive all the time. And I feel like a New Yorker still, because I can walk everywhere, and I like that.
Coming back here, I mean, I don't know how many times you've come back since.
This is the first time.
This first time?
Yeah.
Anything you noticed?
Everyone looked young. And look, I'm not that old. I mean, women in New York are beautiful.
Yes.
Right? They are in L.A., and the L.A. beautiful is more, I'm an actress, a little faker. To me, here
coiffed.
Coiffed. That is a comedy K. Coiffed.
Absolutely.
But in New York, they're more exotic beauties to me.
Sure.
It's a different thing. But I was walking around second night I got here, and it was on the weekend, and I walked around one night. It was like a Saturday night, and it was late. It was like midnight or something. And there were all these restaurants. People are sitting down for dinner, and it's midnight, and there were all these great-looking women. And they're guys are dressed up, nice-looking people, but they're all decked out and looking hot.
Yeah.
And they're all over the place. And I'm looking at that now as an old guy. As a young guy, I'd be like, "Oh my God, these chicks are hot. I gotta get, I gotta talk to them. I gotta do something."
Sure. Yeah.
And now it just struck me as like, you're trying so hard to look great, and you do.
Yeah.
But do you offer the world anything else? I've become an old guy.
Yeah.
When I was in LA recently, I did an Uber pool. I had never done the Uber pool before. You share a ride.
Oh.
It's a shared ride.
Okay.
Normally,
it's new to me.
Yeah. Normally, when you do Uber, it's just the guys picking you up.
Yeah, it's like getting a taxi.
Right.
Yeah.
So where I was at the time or something, or I hit the wrong button, Uber pool.
Okay.
And we pick up the driver. We go to a Whole Foods. He's picked me up. We're on my way to West Hollywood, and we stop by I think a Whole Foods and pick up this woman. And I see her walking towards the car, and I tell the driver, like, I hope she's riding with us. And she was.
Right.
And very attractive. Very attractive. And he had picked her up before, and he said she's a famous model. So I started talking with her, and you know, I didn't know who she was, and I think she even said she was a supermodel. Seriously. And she said like, you should probably know who I am.
Really?
And it wasn't totally cocky. I mean, I felt like, okay, you're a young kid, and you're very attractive.
Yeah.
As it turns out, it just sort of goes back to our Twitter thing.
Yeah.
I looked her up and went to her webpage. It's not like she's a model that she's on advertising products on Victoria's Secret or whatever.
Okay.
She has her own website, and there's another site that's not Instagram, but it's something new that the kids go to. And she's like the number 2 most searched person behind Madonna.
Wow.
And all of her pictures, you go to her website, the second picture of her, I mean, the pictures flash up on the screen, her model shots.
Yeah.
The second one has her on her stomach, ass up in the air.
Sure.
Wearing a bikini or something.
Okay.
But in a pose that has always traditionally worked for me. But I thought, you're coming out with this. This is the second shot, and you have the ass up in the air. It's like Penthouse, but you're wearing something.
Yeah.
And that's when I become like an old guy. I'm like, you got to offer more than that.
Yeah, and it kind of begs the question, like, okay, she's an international supermodel. You should know who she is. Yeah. She's, second to Madonna.
Yeah, but she's just big on the internet.
But why is she taking Uber pool?
Yeah, it's a good question. Yeah. I think it was the only option at the time.
And no offense to people who take Uber pool, obviously, but how much is it getting her?
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't, I'm kind of talking with her and laughing. And when she said she was a supermodel, I should probably know her. In previous years, I'd be pissed off thinking, I could never be with a girl like that. I mean, I'm married now, so it's okay. Yeah. But I would have been offended, or it would have hurt my feelings in some way. And now I just don't care. And then I look her up, and sure enough, like, she is big on social media. And you can get paid that way. Yeah. But if your Iron Claw move, going back to Fritz von Erich.
There you go.
Yeah, it's an Iron Claw. Yeah. If that's your like finishing move or your starting move, is just on your stomach, your ass up in the air. Yeah. What do you do for shot number 2? What is number 2?
Wow, man. Yeah, if they kick out at 2 on that, what are you going to do? Because and my sympathy is that. How long can she make that work? Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there's only a few Madonnas out there who manage to make that kind of physical move work way into your 50s. Yeah. So.
And at least Madonna can sing, and she's got, I mean, I don't think she can really sing, but she's a talented artist. This girl just puts her butt up in the air. Yeah. And look, I wish her all the success in the world. I wish I could remember what her name was.
It's funnier that you can't.
Yeah,
because I think the fact that you probably said, if she said you should know who I am, and you're like, no, I don't know who you are.
She told me how to find her, and it was whatever her name was, and there was another word in front of it, and it was like, it was something like whatever it was almost like this. It wasn't a Twitter handle, but it was a way to find her, a social media way to find her that I didn't really understand. Yeah. But for her, it's like, this is how you find me. It's this social media thing. She's huge on this site, whatever it is.
Wow. But she was generally pleasant to deal with otherwise?
Yeah, I mean, I was in the back seat. She was in the front.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah, she was pleasant. I mean, I was kind of shooting the shit with her along with the driver.
Yeah. I wonder if you pissed her off by not knowing who she was.
Yeah, but, I'm kind of glad I didn't know who she was. I mean, I'm not going to suck up to her.
Yeah, of course not.
And then, in retrospect, I thought, again, second shot, ass in the air.
Yeah.
You're not doing the Victoria's Secret. You're not doing that stuff that models, to me, have always done.
Yeah.
Now, again, I could be the old guy. You can make a ton of money, having a ton of YouTube hits, having a ton of Twitter things, and having lots of shots of your ass up in the air and people hitting like.
Yeah, I guess what makes us the old men we are now is that we're thinking, I hope to put some of that money away.
Yeah.
Yeah, I hope you have a good 401k.
And I'm thinking, God, when can I get a photographer to take a picture of my ass in the air?
I'm sure there's plenty out there who would. You just have to ask. Come on. Spooning with you for this last hour has told me
it's been delightful.
That it's worth taking pictures of.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. How do people keep in touch with you? Where do they find you online?
They barely do. This job that I came out for in L.A., here in New York this week, they had a hard time finding me. He said, your digital presence is way off.
Oh.
And, I don't know. I mean, if you go to facebook.com/the Alan Cross, ALAN. Okay. There's another Alan Cross.
Right.
Who's a Canadian alternative radio DJ. And when I was doing the same thing, I emailed this Alan Cross. I was fascinated that, hey, there's a guy with the same name, and we do the same thing.
Right.
And at the time, I'd emailed him, and he wrote back in a way that it was very suspicious, like, he's Alan Cross. Who is this other Alan Cross?
I would figure because he's Canadian, it would be very polite.
Not on email. I mean, I could have been reading a lot of things into this. I could have been reading a lot of tonal things that were not in there. Right. But if you Google Alan Cross, this guy's picture comes up. Now, I'm not going to say I'm the best-looking guy, but I can also say this guy's not the best-looking guy. And there are a lot of mullet shots early in his career. So if you Google my name, as this latest job did,
it's not him.
It's not me.
Yeah.
Hell, real quick, here's a internet game that I invented.
Okay.
Go to Google image search.
Yes.
Type in your first name and make sure safe search is off.
Okay.
And count how many pictures it takes until you see nudity.
That's a very interesting game.
If your name is like Stacy, and particularly if it's like Stacy with an I,
Yeah.
I guarantee it's in 15 pictures. You'll see someone nude.
I'll be darned.
I think it's a good game.
Yeah. But what if you have safe search off and you type in truffle butter? Don't do that. Don't do that.
No.
What's your Twitter again?
My Twitter, which is very funny. I don't know how Twitter works. It's I don't know if it's called "Don't Tell My Wife" or "She Wear the Pants."
She wear the
Because it's one of those. I don't know if my handle is "Don't Tell My Wife" or if it's. I think it's "She Wear the Pants." There wasn't enough characters, so I had to cut something off.
Cut something off.
She wear the pants, and my wife is unbelievably hilarious. I mean, she is really, really funny. One of the ones that a lot of ladies like is, "I'll hold your hand, just don't bug me."
My wife, I think, likes those.
Yeah,
She's seen those.
Yeah, they're crazy.
Yeah, but you do got to work on that digital presence, man.
I do.
Yeah.
You're all over the place, right?
I try to be all over the place.
Yeah.
It makes me look like I'm busy.
Yeah, but we're really not.
No. Thanks for doing this, man.
That was a pleasure.
That's Alan Cross. Good guy. Glad I had a chance to catch him while he was in town. It was a lot of fun. And, yeah, he's a creative guy. Just fun to chat with. And as you can tell, you know, we goof around a little bit, but we had some serious stuff to talk about, and I'm glad we did. If you want to follow Alan's career, he's got that Twitter we talked about. That's where he quotes his wife and various things she says along the way. You can follow that at She Wear the Pants on Twitter. I'll have a link to that in the show notes for this episode. You can also find Alan on Facebook. He's fairly accessible there. Just don't go finding that Canadian rock DJ guy, because totally different person. Entirely different person. This Alan Cross, as far as I know, much better guy. Although that could be just because I don't know the other one. Or the many other ones that are out there. I'm sure there's lovely Alan Crosses out there. This one just happens to be the one I know and the one I happen to like best. So thanks, Alan, for joining me. I'm glad you were able to get home safe, and I look forward to chatting with you again. All right, that about does it for another edition of Bring Your Own Lunch. Glad you can join us. Thank you. Thank you, Banuba. Banuba.net, BANOOBA.net. Banuba is the band you're listening to right now. Go to their website, download their music, buy their music, go see them live. They're awesome, and make sure you tell them that Dave says hi. And don't forget to go to our website, bringyourownlunch.com. Find out all the information about the guests on this program, past, present, and presumably future. Like us on Facebook.com/BringYourOwnLunch. Follow us on Twitter at BYOL Podcast. Follow us on Instagram at Bring Your Own Lunch. And if you really want to help us out, go to iTunes or Stitcher right now as soon as I'm done talking, and rate, review, and subscribe to this program. The best way to make sure you get the episodes as soon as they're out there, well, just subscribe and you'll get them. And then tell people what you think by giving it a rating and write a nice review for us, because I would really appreciate that. Stay tuned for Jimmy Jack's Cowpunch Hour, followed by Mansoor and the Fish. And until next week, when I have another great guest lined up, this is Dave. I'll see you next week. Do not Google the translation of guacamole. Trust me.